media. So we said that it doesn't have to be necessarily a sexual act, it could just be a sexual behavior. So something like sending unsolicited pictures, or Beth mentioned humiliation and revenge porn as examples of sexual abuse as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. So how the perception of sexual abuse has changed over time, e.g. revenge porn as an example. That's a good one. Has anyone else got apologies? All I can see is center. I can only see the word center. So if you've got your hand up, apologies. I can't see. Is that yourself there, Jeremy? Sorry.
For some reason, I come up as centre manager reports. I don't know why. Yeah. Anyway, we were thinking that it could be something that's, I suppose, pairing it right back. It might not necessarily involve touch or verbal communication or written communication. It could just be mere body language, actually. It could be non-verbal communication. So,
yeah.
You know, but, well, it depends if it's unconsented, and also with intent as well. With intent is a bit of a grey area, though, because if there's no intent there, it doesn't at all make it right. But anyway, that's a different conversation. So it could be body language.
So body language. So could anybody, including yourself, Jeremy, give me just kind of paint me the picture about what kind of body language do you think we would be looking at that could fall into this?
It could be someone, you know, blowing a kiss, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, cool.
You know, across a room in a classroom.
So we can have threatening behaviour through body language, can't we?
Mm.
Yeah, through gestures and positioning,
gestures.
posturing and things.
Posture.
What about spatial awareness?
Yeah, spatial awareness, definitely.
So something that the guys that work predominantly with our 16 to 18-year-olds in certain situations will be aware of. Felicia, I think you've got your hand up there. Hi. Have you got anything to add?
Oh yeah, I thought it was for the other bits, but yeah, it could be like suggestive touching of areas of the body.
Yeah. So again, it's a difficult conversation to have, but I think as we go through the slides and reading and watching and all the rest of it, I think it is language that we need to use, and therefore, if we are accepting of the language that is involved around sexual abuse, it becomes quite clear cut. There is no grey areas for when we are talking with our candidates and we're talking with in particular, our young people. Abby, is your hand back up again, or was it up from earlier? Yep, go for it, Abby.
And we also discussed as a group sort of a feature of sexual abuse being a power differential. So usually it's one person has more power over someone else, and that can lead to things like grooming. So Felicia mentioned the sexual acts taking place in exchange for rewards. And obviously grooming is something that we put down as one of the definitions. So I thought that would relate nicely.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point there, to be able to talk about where we look at power and what is power and what defines power. And in this instance, especially when we're talking about children, the age differentiation is power, the kind of position that they have as a trusted person around them is power. Not always a person of authority, i.e. one of the police forces or uniformed services or something like that, although it does happen just as much. Okay, really appreciate you being involved with that, guys, as well as bearing with us around the technical issue. I think that as we go through here now, I want to just kind of put a bit of clarity on this around what the UK legal definition is around sexual abuse. So it breaks it down into basically kind of 3 areas really. It's illegal sex acts which are performed against a minor by a parent, guardian.
Sorry, Danny, are we
relative.
supposed to be seeing your slides?
Yeah, can you not?
I can't. I don't know if anyone else can.
You nodding, Beth, you can see them.
I can see
Oh,
them.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just
What?
me.
Don't
Carry
worry,
on.
Charlie, I'll ping them out to you, pal, if you can't.
No worries.
And then it puts in here or an acquaintance. Okay, so the abuse angle of this is it's not a kind of one-off person attack. Okay, and I think Abby was leading and discussed this quite well. The next bit is sexual abuse is a general term for any type of sexual activity inflicted. Okay, so it's done to them, inflicted on a child by someone with whom the child is acquainted. Again, we've identified that, which is fantastic, that we've got this awareness of what kind of paints this foundation of a sexual abuse situation. All right, it is considered an exceptionally heinous crime because the abuser occupies a position of trust. Trust is also known as power, which Abby and your group have identified, which is, it's really good that we're kind of along the same page. Now, peer-on-peer sexual abuse. Okay, this is what we are likely to encounter, if at all, because of the situation that we're in, where relationships over 30 hours in a week are going to start to evolve, whether it be friendship, strong friendships, or even kind of a loving or sexual relationship. And again, predominantly we are talking off the back of feedback for under 18s, but as part of us as a company, I think it's common sense that we'd be able to apply this for our adults, definitely our vulnerable adults, up to and including the age of 24. But it may even be that if somebody who's in a position in their life right now where they are seeking that closeness to somebody, or they are seeking the attention because of whatever else is happening through the pandemic and the after effects of mental health, that they may well be susceptible to these things as well. Okay, because it is a friend on friend kind of action. Okay, so the term peer-on-peer sexual abuse includes sexual violence, such as rape, assault by penetration, and sexual assault. So sexual harassment, such as sexual comments, remarks, jokes, online sexual harassment, which may be standalone or part of a broader pattern of abuse. So again, when we start looking at that, we can start to use things like grooming as a terminology where the intent is to get that outcome and to get away with that outcome, basically. Something that we identified 2 years ago, because it was put into the 3 years ago now, sorry, keeping children safe in education policy, is about upskirting. So upskirting is now obviously not just not acceptable, it is criminal now. Okay, and it forms into and can be prosecuted against as sexual abuse. So upskirting typically involves taking picture under a person's clothing without them knowing. Okay, now the intention of that is to view genitals, their buttocks, and they obtain sexual gratification, or which has been linked to, I think it was it yourself, Beth, that may have mentioned it, around to cause humiliation, distress, alarm, revenge, something to degrade that person. Okay. Sexting also falls into this category as well now, guys. So sexting, also known as youth-produced sexual imagery. So explicit language, requests, enticing conversation, and then having the person send imagery or expose them to imagery. Any questions about what we just put on there, guys? No? Okay, I'll keep going. So types of sexual abuse, Amy kind of hit the nail on the head with this, especially as we're talking about children. We have two types. We have contact, okay? So this is the physical nature of the sexual abuse. So that could be sexual touching of any part of the child's body, whether it's under or over clothing, okay? So we talk in activities with our training, we talk a lot, and there's a few of you who have bridged over the different, I've just see Beth there and Emma Graham, who have worked in different sides of that, where you swim and you swim instruct, and you have to be able to protect people, i.e. children, in that water. There are professional ways that we have contact with them because they are semi-naked position, okay? We have gymnasts who need to be protected and supported in a certain way, okay? And they are clothed, albeit within tighter clothing, they are clothed, but we still need to respond to them in the same way. So an inappropriate contact or touch from a person to a young person is sexual abuse, okay? So it doesn't have to be what we may well perceive to be skin-on-skin contact. Using a body part or object to rape or penetrate a child. Apologies, but it's not nice, but again, it falls into what is contact. Forcing a child to take part in sexual activities and then making a child undress or touch someone else. So it is that power, that control for their own gratification. Okay, whether they deem it that way or not, that is what is linking it to sexual abuse. We then have the other side to that, which a few comments have linked it to, which is non-contact. Okay, so somebody exposing themselves, or as it's known as flashing, okay, that is sexual abuse to the other person. Okay, showing pornography, and this is a key thing within the rapid report that's been flown through about people being subjected to explicit imagery videos when they've not asked for that in a situation. It is deemed as sexual abuse. Exposing a child to sexual acts, so then being around, being aware of things that they are too young to be aware of, encouraging them or making them explore themselves, and that includes masturbation, forcing a child to make, view or share child abuse images or videos. So we are talking about under 18s here. We live in a digital world, and we do our best as professionals, parents, siblings, aunties, uncles, godparents, to look after the young people who are learning to navigate through the digital world. As they have a relationship online and they use these devices, they are underage. So if somebody is involved as a third party in that, they are sexually abusing those people. Somebody, you got your hand up, Felicia? No? Okay. And then last one, forcing a child to take part in sexual activities or conversations online or through a smartphone. Okay, so it is a kind of position where we are saying you need to do this because of, or if you don't do this, this might happen. And then we go into the realm of grooming and that sexual exploitation. And this is where it can cross over, and county lines is part of this. Because of CSE, we've talked about in previous training, it is sexual abuse. Any questions or comments? No. Okay. So headlines from the Ofsted's rapid review. They called it that because what they did is they parachuted in and they took a sample, and they took a sample of 32 different schools and colleges, over 900 young people and children engaged with them. Some obviously didn't, but the majority did. And the document, I've got the link to at the bottom of this, has several pages, and it's quite an easy read for a report, to be honest. And it identifies not individual cases or schools, but it gives you broad outlines of these are the very, very common themes that we are worried about and we are seeing. So girls reported being sent explicit sexual material and being asked for nudes. So that is exposing their genitals, exposing bare skin to another person. And even down to the point that there were games being played, and how many collection of nudes from different people could you get, got you certain points, expanding across all different excuses to why they had it and why they were doing it. 90% of girls asked, 50% of boys that were asked had been sent sexual content that they did not want to see. And that also included, and when you read, if you want to, it includes comments around they didn't not just want to see it, they didn't like what they were seeing. It was damaging to them. It upset them in certain ways as well. Okay. But they were just being sent this through mobile phones, through online. They were being physically shown it from other devices, and so on and so forth. But as you can see there, 90% is just a huge percentage. 92% of girls and 74% of boys said sexist name calling happens a lot or sometimes to them or their peers. That is pretty much everybody was exposed to what they called name calling. Now we could branch off and put this into bullying, intimidation. We could put this into what we are now, which is sexual abuse. Okay, you can start to build a worrying picture about what our younger generation is actually growing up in. Okay. Children openly and consistently explained it was normal or commonplace behavior for the above to happen. They knew of, or it happened to them, that a nude picture had been sent around about them, or they knew of somebody who had sent an explicit photo of themselves because of their boyfriend or girlfriend had requested it, and it wasn't necessarily for their private relationship. It had then been exposed to others. Any questions about the first slide on that? Any comments? No? Okay. So again, when this goes out, this link here takes you directly to the report for you to have a read if and when you choose to. So children, again, we call them children, even though it's a difficult kind of concept for us to get our head around. Everybody under the age of 18 is a child. Okay, so children, especially girls, were not willing to talk about sexual abuse for several reasons. So they were, even though they knew who they were talking to, teachers, parents, senior staff members, even Ofsted, they were very reluctant because of they felt they were not going to be believed. They were so embarrassed that they'd been put in a position like this, or they'd be ostracized, potentially even worse, and linked towards being pushed away from all their friends, being name called, being bullied, being victimized off the back of it. Children explained there were gaps in gaining answers on this topic, so they turned to online sources. So there is some really good, really good online sources, and some of it I've used to research and to inform yourselves. The chances are they will not have gone to these charity-based organisations. They would have not have gone to UK-sourced and government-approved websites. They will have ended up going towards the more explicit side to this, and almost thinking that that is the normal side to why a loving and sexual relationship needs to do X, Y, and Z, when actually, no, they are looking at this for information, and it's giving them the wrong understanding of what is acceptable and what isn't. What do we think might be missing if the children are explaining there's gaps? What do you think Ofsted are going to make an assumption about? Who is not providing information? Who do you think, Charlie? Sorry, Pa, I picked on you, got your mouth full. So schools, people who spend as much time with these young people as parents, carers, guardians, they are making association that yes, schools are telling them the big picture, but then they're not drilling into applying the information into real life circumstances, that they are not giving them hypothetical scenarios and challenging their understanding. They're also not openly discussing things in a professional and a mature manner, which is part of growing up through puberty, through the school system, is that you develop a maturity and you affect your behaviours and attitudes towards sensitive subjects, mature subjects, and your resilience around them. Some school staff, teachers underestimated the scale of the problem. So when openly discussing in confidence, the report is stating that they thought it might be happening here and there, but when given the information like we've just seen, that 74% of boys, 92, I think it was, % of girls were exposed to this kind of language and this kind of behaviour, they just didn't know. Now, as part of the professional sector, not for 1 second do I think that any of those teachers, tutors, lecturers are harbouring this kind of behaviour or facilitating it or allowing it. What I think is happening is that without the involvement of a relationship, they're not coming to their teachers and telling them that this is happening. They are not feeling brave enough or confident enough to be able to say, I've just been called this, or I've just seen this, without the fear of there being instant retribution and judgment cast on them. So I think that it's as the report goes on to say, it's happening off-site, it's happening in the darker corners of where adults are not able, or professional adults are not able to support. Senior educational leaders have fed back in and said actually there have been issues when they have pursued sexual abuse claims, when they have supported this and it has actually gone into a criminal nature. It doesn't follow through and a conviction doesn't happen. What support is there? Because ultimately, if we're talking about two 15-year-old children who are in the same school and they've gone through this horrible process, and then you have these two children back in your school because you can't remove one because you don't have the law of the land telling you they've done something wrong. So ultimately you have a victim and a perpetrator, but you don't know who it is. How do you manage that? And it's just, they feel like we are just being left to deal with that situation. So off the back of this, there has been several different resources, guidance documents, detailed through charities, which can be found through that link at the bottom of that report. So should I say, if we come across instance like this, then the go-to situation will be process, directing to this information source, and then we will go and work through DSOs and DSL. Apologies, that was the wrong one. So I think I mentioned it about the dark corners where no adults were there. They were open, thankfully, children, to saying that it wasn't happening on school site, although there were incidents of corridors, inappropriate touching, groping, upskirting, and removing of clothes and things like this. But it was seen more, and they explained that it happened more in and around meeting up with people in parks and at parties. So the previous Jamboard, I'm not even going to dare risk kicking you back into that. But what I am going to do though is just show up here, task 2. Okay. So what you can do now, just have a quick think about this. What do you think SSG staff should do to minimise sexual abuse for our candidates? Apologies if that's a bit small, sorry. So have a think, jot some notes down. What do you think we should do? What do you think we can do to minimise this either occurring or becoming a big issue? Sorry, I just want to put that back on there. Let me have a think. Somebody I think might be able to. So Emma Graham, I'm going to come to you in a minute first, if that's all right. And then Harry, I'm going to come to you after Emma, if that's okay, in about a minute. So what do you think SSG staff should do to minimise sexual abuse of our candidates? Are you good to go, Emma? Oh, sorry, Jeremy. You got a question, Jeremy?
Oh no, I've got a suggestion for it, but sorry, maybe should I put it in the text instead?
You are sorry. No. You can read out. Give me 1 second. I'll just see what Emma's going to feed back in. I'll come to you after Harry. Okay.
Okay.
Apologies. Go on then, Emma. What are you thinking?
I think one of the most important things that we can do, which is what we're doing right now, which is that everyone has a staff awareness and understanding so that we're able to spot things quickly, provide the right interventions, support, signposting.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Full stop. Mic drop. Okay. Brilliant. What about you, Harry? The gaffer's stitched you up and taken a lot there.
Just like educating the candidates, like let them know their rights and what like the signs of like sexual abuse are.
I really like that middle bit you just put in there. Obviously, educating is great, but letting them actually know what their rights are, because I think sometimes I can be quite complacent with assuming that people will know this and assuming that people remember it, even if they've been told. It's not about us telling our candidates anymore. That's way too easy. That's an expectation at the simplest level that we tell them and explain to them. What is now a baseline expectation is that they can take what we've told them and apply it to situations, even if they are fictional. And they can then look to how they can adapt and evolve. So that's good. Educating the candidates on their rights. Yeah, I'm going to write that down. Yes, Jeremy.
I think from the outset, when the new groups, actually from the first day, it's always good, whether it's physically in the class or on the Zoom, to just sort of state the guidelines, the expectations, the sort of rules. So when saying, we expect positivity, respect between others, it's inclusive, etc. It's sort of, I think Trishka mentioned this as well. She meant make our rules clear in the chat. So it's sort of letting people know that actually the tone of the course, that it will be respectful and etc. But that we won't tolerate any any kind of like sexual harassment or any other sort of rule breaking or disrespectfulness and things.
It's good. It's good. I pick up just on one part of your statement then, although I agree with it all, is we will not tolerate. I think sometimes that is exactly what we believe and what we do as a sector. It's how do we then follow through with that?
Right.
But I agree, we don't tolerate. Beth, and now come to you next, Jodie. Sorry, you got your hand up, Beth.
So kind of fitting in with what Harry said, so obviously informing them of things like their rights, but also informing them of who they can go to talk to about these things. Yeah. Okay. So it might seem a bit far-fetched, but I don't know if people have seen it in like bars and clubs, in the like toilets, they have posters that say like, go to the bar and ask for Ashley if you're experiencing like trouble with a date or something like that and you want to get out there quickly. So like things like that, like posting it around sites so that they know who they need to go to if they have an issue to talk about.
That's a great example, and one example that I talked to Emma Graham mentioned a couple of hours ago, just randomly about that. And off the back of that, I wasn't sure whether that was also advertised for males as well. I don't know if anybody can confirm or deny or whatever, because again, we're talking about looking at a gender neutral society. We're moving towards equal opportunities. Yes, we are fully aware of needing those systems in place for a vulnerable person. So if we have same-sex dates happening in a club, are we supporting that side as well? Because remember, sexual abuse is non-gender specific. It can be male on male, female on male, male on female, female on female, they on they, them on them. It is what it is, isn't it? But I think it's those little tips that you will know that actually they will need to know when they're a little bit older, or they need to know now because they're of age and they're going out there and they're not quite getting what did you say, Ashley? Not quite getting, why would I say Ashley? Do you know what I mean? I'm on a date. What we need to do as well is make sure that we get into the point to say, actually, if you're using your example, if your date is already saying this, and if your date is already implying this, then actually that's not right. And that's exactly why that poster is there. Do not think that because they haven't touched you, or they haven't hurt you, or they haven't made you belittled you or whatever, that it hasn't already started. It has. So yeah, really good point. I'll come to you in a minute, Jeremy. Jodie, sorry, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I think it's almost taking it back to basics as well, using the correct language for the correct body parts. So, like penis and vagina and, breasts, because a lot of abusive cases that you see, they give different names to the different body parts. So it doesn't become something that you can pick up on immediately. So it's, using the right words for the right body parts to make everybody aware that, no, it's not right to be touched in that area. That is your own personal area, etc. So using that correct language.
No, again, that is 101 training, but you've obviously done a lot of training on that, and when you work with younger people as well, very much the kind of anatomical terms, very much accurate terminology and accurate language. And I can only speak for myself, having taught many sex ed sessions, many safeguarding sessions. There have been plenty of times where I've just felt like swallow me up, just open the ground up, swallow me up. I feel embarrassed, or I feel a little bit out of my depth, or whatever it may well be. But when you come back to the why are we talking like this, and why are we having an open discussion about this, it's because we would much rather feel a little embarrassed for a few minutes than feeling like we want to cry because the person in front of us has just gone through what they've gone through. So if we can educate our people who are around us and re-educate to some extent, because let's face it, they come to us potentially already educated, already done their education, they've had a gap, then they've come back to us. If we re-educate them around terminology and language, then that's only a good thing. It's a good point. Jeremy, you put your hand down. Do you still want to make comment, or are you good?
No, sorry, it was because before I forgot to put the hand down. So
it's okay, mate. I had a penny for every time I've done that. That's fine. So using correct terminology for body parts. Okay, I think that's really good. What I'd like to do as well is, we're not quite there yet, but after this session is finished, I'd like to leave you a little bit like what Emma did in her last session. I'd like to leave that seed planted inside you, especially you LSAs, who are so important about what should we be able to do? What do we need? Should we have a poster? Just a very simple poster that is positioned in the right place, that triggers people to say, do this, go here, do that. We do it for emergencies, we do it for safeguarding. Have we got something that would that help or not? Likewise, you guys who spend 90% of your working life virtually trying to engage with people, is there something that we could do? Is it a pre-recorded session? Is it a signpost? Is it another kind of notice board or Padlet? But I'll leave that with you, because you guys are the ones that know, not me that sits in a dark little room. So just coming back to the PowerPoint then. So this is something that myself reading through, taking advice from the report, looking at other things like NSPCC, Bernardo's, the NHS also provides information as well. We think we do, so we need to continue this, create and maintain a culture of equality. Okay, we all believe in it. It's one of our values. Do we create it? We hopefully do. Do we maintain it? Well, in all areas, hopefully we do. Set clear and transparent expectations against the code of conduct. So pretty much echoing what Jeremy's just said. From the offset, you want to be part of the SSG family. Amazing. This is what you have to be like to be part of the family. To be associated with us, you need to be able to do X, Y, and Z with your behavior and your attitudes. And if you can't do that, are you willing to learn to change? Are you willing to engage and develop yourself personally? If you're not, then we need to be thinking about, right, okay, is there other ways around that? All right, challenging inappropriate language, challenging inappropriate behavior. And that's got to be appropriate challenge, obviously, because I get it. You guys are working sometimes in situations where you're managing environments, okay? But you need to follow through with process to ensure that consequence happens. If someone does something wrong, there needs to be consequence. This is an horrendous conversation we're having, sorry, a horrendous topic we're having to have a conversation about. But if we do not change people's behaviors, if we do not educate people, or actually tell them, no, 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 what you're doing is wrong and it's illegal and it's harmful and it's damaging to another person, how will they ever know? Okay, and that is a real key thing for us. That is something we could definitely do, and we could do that proactively, is we could inform people around these things. Okay. So what do we do then if a child reveals abuse? So if a child under 18, a young person comes to one of us and tells you something quite severe, or something non-contact is happening or is happening, which we still need to class as severe. Okay, we need to listen to them carefully and give them our attention. Something I would add to this is we need to make sure we do it in the right environment. Okay, in the right situation. The Bedford Centre is amazing, but we all know 2 or 3 places where we wouldn't stand and have a chat, because you don't know who's going to walk around the corner, you don't know who might be listening, things like that. Okay, let them know they've done the right thing by telling you. So the action of coming to speak to you is reward enough for praise. If they clam up and don't tell you, you still praise them for making that step forward, for coming to see you. Okay, it's that relationship building. Tell them it's not their fault. Okay, so once they have informed you about somebody has got a nude photo of myself, somebody has been writing things online about me, whatever it may well be, okay, try and ensure that, again, reinforce that talking about it to a professional person like yourself is the right thing. It is not their fault. It's happening to them. Say you'll take them seriously. So we will not just dismiss this as a, well, we thought you were in a relationship and you're 17. No, we will take it very seriously. Okay. Do not confront, sorry, it's been a long day. Do not confront the alleged abuser. Okay. So we would not go from a meeting and then stomp round to somebody who we think has been doing X, Y, and Z. We have process in place that you would feed that in eventually to your DSOs, and decisions would then be made. Okay. It is never our job to investigate in order to prove one way or another. Okay. It's quite difficult because there's always this kind of greyish area, but we don't do that. Sexual abuse is a criminal act and therefore police. Okay. Explain what you're going to do next. And your explanation is really simple. You sandwich it. You say, I'm going to be here to support you whenever you need to come and speak to me again about this. I'm now going to go and tell my designated safeguarding officer. I'm now going to tell my line manager. But don't forget, and this is the sandwich, but don't forget, I'm doing this with you to support you, because what you've done is not your fault. And we're going to support you to get through this. Okay. You then immediately tell your DSO. So if it's a Friday, you pick up the phone if you can't see them face to face. At any point, something is worrying you. Okay. And I've said this before. So for new staff, I am the lead for safeguarding for the whole company. So technically, I'm never off duty. You phone, you leave a message on my phone, I respond to your voicemail message and pick it up then. Off the back of that, you record it on CPOMs. So you triple know that people are going to see that, because like we talked earlier, you're going to add people in, you're going to go and ensure that the record is straight. Nowhere on there does it say that we're going to pick up the phone and call parents. Okay, because that is much later down here. We have a duty of care for that person. It may be a parent or carer who is actually the abuser, but they've not quite divulged the information yet. They're saying a person is doing this. So we need to make sure that we have what we can from them. You feel like you're getting the support you need from SSG, and then we will pass that on to the amazing professionals that help them. Any questions? No? Sure? I've got a big picture there that says questions on it. No questions? Tina, you must have a question, surely. You've got a smile. You must have something.
I don't, Danny. You smashed it. I think you covered it all.
Covered it all. Again, I appreciate that the subject for some, and I include myself in that, is sensitive. It's not a very nice subject. I don't want to have to do this, but I will do it every week if needs be, so we don't have to deal with an actual incident. A statement I'm going to make, and it is only a statement, it is not an assumption, it's a statement. I would like us to tighten up on what language is appropriate within any of our venues, facilities, provision. Okay, we wouldn't stand, and we don't stand for homophobic language or racist language. Okay, can we just be aware of what could be construed as sexist language or sexual language? And could we just start to have an ear open to that as well? And again, we are educating and we are changing these. So if we go at it with a hard hammer and start disciplining people for saying 2 or 3 words, we wouldn't have a lot of people in our environment. What we would do is approach them on it and go, can I have a quick word about that? You know what that word actually means? And do you know you've just put it into that context? Okay. Are you aware about what the law is? Are you aware about this? And if you're not, let's get it out there. Let's get some training sessions for our young people and our educated older people as well. Because again, society changes. Past is past. Doesn't make it right or wrong. I'm not getting into that now, but there are some very debatable areas for maybe our senior candidates. Okay, and they need to be educated and brought where needed up to speed with. This isn't just wrong, this is now like borderline illegal, and you cannot discuss things like that, and you won't do it at SSG. Yeah, cool. Right, no more questions. I can't see any there. All right, okay, so what I want to say, first of all, thank you. Obviously going through a difficult topic. Thank you for your attention. We have gone through and identified all those aims off the back of the outcomes. We've gone a little bit over time, but I wasn't rushing. And the reason for that is that we are we've took the decision for the next session to be paused. We were having Shannon, who's going to run that session, okay, and she's been doing research and looking into it all, and we still think that that is a powerful way to get the message across around linking mental health with use of language, especially around people who are transitioning and people in the LGBTQ plus community. I think it's important. So what we're going to do is look at getting one of our short, sharp sessions recorded with Shannon involved and leading on that, and quality team will support as and when, and we'll get that back out to you at another time. That gives you 30 minutes of time that actually you would have been sat listening to me, yawning and thinking, oh, I need to go home. What I would like to do is task you to do 360s on your CPOMs. If you've got a CPOMs account, even if you've not got a live learner on, but you've got an account, go and have a look, go double check, tighten up, revisit, read your last comments, use that 30 minutes to tie it off. If you haven't got any of that you need to do, I'm sure you might have 1 or 2 emails that you'd be able to tie off and get sorted for you. Tomorrow morning, the plan is that we are, again, timely in our society. We are going to do a lecture style and hands-on refresher for CPR, and emergency action and medical action plans, what those are, how we would use an AED unit. Okay, and we're gonna use that in the sports hall. So if we could all meet in the centre as we're planned to, because we do have children on site, we do have activities going on. We're then going to go, so it's a nice ventilated area. We've got the space we need, so we're not on top of each other. And we're going to go into a corner in the sports hall, deliver that first aid. You then have a bit of an update about what is happening bigger picture. So what is happening behind the quality team with the SAR process. Again, another request off the back of feedback that some people are wanting to know what's going on behind the scenes. We want you to be more transparent with the top down kind of situation. So that's going to be a very quick 20-minute presentation. Jenna is going to give her words of wisdom and sprinkle magic dust on you guys. And then later in the afternoon, we are going to have a bit of team building, team bonding after lunch. And then Dan will give us a MD review about where we're going as a company and as a department. Grimbo, I think you've got your hand up. Is that meant to be up?
It was, I've wrote a message. It was just, could I borrow my team for 2 minutes at the end, so don't disappear. And
Right.
if you could listen in, Danny, as well, that if you could stay just for 2 minutes, that'd be great.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your attention and your time today, guys. I know it's virtual, staring at a screen, two-dimensional. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing you all again tomorrow if I'm let out of my kitchen. So that'll be great. Have a good evening, guys. Any questions, feed back into me. Okay, take care.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Many thanks. Cheers.